also that our being seen as cool is like, or being seen as a reference point for coolness or whatever, it's something that it's cool, but it's also not. It doesn't do very much for us, I feel. It
has actually
leverage that power.
Actually, what it has done, it is that it has closed the personal distance. Cool. That's what it has done.
To some extent, man. My argument is that we've always been, to some extent, a point of reference for something that is to some, like, our things have always been taken to embellish the lives of, like, white people and other people, to, you know, whether it's our culture, whether it's, I heard the thing of, like, Victorian women, like, doing like the big thing. With the thing was them trying to look like they had a big booty, and like
but at the same time,
was that what they did that?
Apparently, and it's always been
the
that
corsets.
And it's always been that type of shit. And my
not only the corsets, but like the dresses with the big bouffant.
My thing is earlier you said, how do we define freedom? I think we do still need to go back to that, to saying, how do we really define freedom? How do we define when we've made it and when we are there? I was thinking that movie Tigertail, that guy Alan Yang, his family is from Taiwan, and he just like got into the nuances of how people, when his grandpa was growing up, spoke both, I think, Mandarin and Taiwanese, and those are different. And I think the Mandarin influence is like from the Chinese taking over Taiwan and being like colonial powers of Taiwan, and like Taiwanese people still speaking their language, but also having this sense of this like stronger language. And they don't go into it too much in the movie. They don't like give you all that cultural context, but it's so specific, you get a sense that even if I've never been through that experience, I kind of know what that means, you know, to speak my own language, but to feel like there is a politically stronger entity you know, that I need to conform to, that I need to...
that's where we are in terms of English.
And I think that's what makes
the good
things
news
more
is,
universally relatable.
The good news is not just us when it comes to English. It's everyone else.
Yeah. I feel like when I watch a lot of like, when I watch the movies, I can't tell you where they're from or what time they're from, or because they try to, from like the 2010s or whatever, Ugandan movies that are not very Ugandan. They seem to be foreign funded. Everyone's speaking in English. Everyone's speaking also just a very stilted type of English. It's a very like... You know, and it's just not how we talk at all. And if we really break it down and realize that actually we own an English that isn't the English that the English gave us or whatever, but we've made it our own thing.
Sometimes people are like, hey, why do you speak like that?
Rather than throw out the baby with the bathwater, if we just embrace that and acknowledge that we already have some agency in how we exist with some of these things, and we just need to acknowledge that existing agency, that existing...
And then leverage it.
Those existing, you know, we don't have to burn everything down. Places like Nigeria that were able to kind of like, and other places that were able to really own those languages. Often the circumstances were really shit, but the places that were able to own those languages and turn them into their own thing. I can't say this because of having been to Nigeria, but I get a sense that Pidgin English is spoken by everyone, regardless of education level, regardless of like, it cuts across.
It could be a cultural growth.
And it's something that I think gives you so much more leverage, even as an artist or a creative who's trying to communicate to people, who's trying to create like a swell, a groundswell or whatever. Having that shorthand with which you can communicate to so many people something that is so familiar, rather than trying to chase an English that doesn't exist.
I think that's the most important takeaway I think I got, especially from watching your movies. Seeing the way it shifted a person from a bias, and then noticing
the person
how...
you're watching with?
Yeah.
So just for context,
you have to break the boundaries.
Part of this conversation before, the person you were watching with initially saw that one of my films was in Uganda and was like, whoa. And
that you are using local languages.
Be a good film? Did they assume it wouldn't?
They had a bias that the film wouldn't be good because the dialect was local. And yet you had subtitles in English. Actually, I remember the person pointing out that you did have subtitles.
So were they worried that they wouldn't understand? Was that the issue?
I don't know. I think you shocked them.
They associated like local
and I think they are
with
not open to new things, even though the quality was begging them to pay attention, because that was the positive thing they said. They said, I like the quality, but that. Because they're not used to it in that combination. You see my point? Yeah. But they had to readjust because you were constantly pulling at their ear with those.
When are we going to ever get to the same level of appreciation that we would have when somebody watches like a fucking Japanese film? That's so depressing that we still have that level of like, of like quality judgment for this shit, where like immediately being in a language determines quality. Where like, what if an American film involved Uganda?
You know,
Yeah.
then it's validated.
What the fuck does that mean?
Then it's validated.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know,
Like,
this.
I've heard Uganda and like random things used in the background, and that's some bullshit. Half the time when you hear it, you're just like, this doesn't mean anything.